Hi everybody, my name's Antoinette and this is Good Owl Games, the place where I'm here to give you two-player insights into some of the board games you might just want to have in your own collection. So this review has been a really long time in coming, but the question of course is, well, was it worth the wait? So let's find out together in 5 things I think you need to know about Reach. Thing 1, what's this game all about? So Reach is a 2-player cooperative card game in which you and a buddy have become separated in space, and you're using whatever tools you have about you to try and work your way back to each other before the oxygen runs out. Now, this is a really cool theme and idea, and we've seen it a lot in film and in television, so you get this kind of feeling of what's going on here. And I think it helps you immerse yourself into the game because it's something we are so familiar with. I love the use of momentum here, which really helps give the game a sense of space and time and distance. It does catch that feeling of actual space. Not only that, there are event cards that pop up, because we all know space isn't easy, that hinder your progress. And it gives the game a sense of urgency and definitely adds to the determination here. So it feels like this game is a struggle for sure. Now, similar games to Reach. I don't think I've come across a game like this that kind of deals with space in this way, and in a dexterous way too. It's pretty special. Thing 2, what kind of actions am I going to be performing on a turn? Okay, so the first thing you need to know about Reach is that there are 2 modes in which you can play. One in which you are little meeples on the space board trying to work your way back to each other, and one in which you are the meeples and you play in real life and real time trying to reconnect with your partner. And I'll talk a little bit more about that mode in a bit, but both games are essentially the same at the core. So what will happen is at the start of your turn, there will be momentum that you need to check. And this determines kind of what direction you're going in, how far you're spinning out into space. It's the kind of thing you're going to want to control to be able to work your way back to your buddy. And after that, you'll draw a handful of cards. And depending on which character you're playing, there are 2. Their decks work differently. One gets more or less cards than the other. And so you'll draw your cards, and any one that has its back facing is an event card. So things like asteroids might happen, it might change your momentum, all kind of, I suppose, negative things mostly, and that has to be dealt with before you play with any cards. But the fun part about the whole back of the cards thing, if you draw 3 cards with their backs facing, that's the end of the game, oxygen's out, and as you use cards, they'll become turned upside down, and that also means you've more negative events in your deck. So as you can see, the facing of the cards here is very important. But what type of cards are you playing? Well, it's space. You don't have a whole lot of stuff. So there's a variety of cards that involve things such as throwing weapons away to give you momentum to move you in the opposite direction. There are ways to sort the cards in your deck. There are ways to tether your other player. There are ways to reach out and grab them as well. And a couple other bits and bobs like that as you go along that might be useful, like sticky tape and whatnot. And so the game ends then once you have fully, recaptured your buddy. Now, mechanically wise, I think this game is quite interesting. The notion of momentum is clever, and using your items to determine where you are in space and time without that kind of exactness is fun. I think it's interesting. My only problem here is that I found the game rather easy. I don't know, maybe whether I got lucky or I've misread the rules. I'll talk about the rules in a minute. But I seem to be fortunate enough to get a wrench card relatively early each game we played, which very quickly put me back to the starting point of the game, so I was never very far away from my buddy. So we never had any real problems winning or difficulties with it. Like I said, that could be a fluke. Like I said, it could be to do with the rules, but we'll find out more about those as we go on to the next section. Thing 3 on the table. So Reach is kind of the epitome of a tidy game because you can essentially just play it as a deck of cards in your hand and don't need any space at all. But if you do choose to use the board, it's very tidy, very neat. Like everything about this game is kind of elegant like that. Now, it takes about 10 minutes for 2 of us to play, and the setup and teardown is rather fast. There's only 2 decks really to contend with. Now, the rulebook is where I have an issue, and I have done this on purpose, right? Because normally I'm here to review games. I'm here to tell you my experience of them. I'm not here to teach you all of the rules. So while I could have gone and asked the game's designer to clarify some points about how I played the game, I chose not to because I want to experience this as a someone who's just bought the game for the first time and share that with you and tell you what happened to me. So this is it. So what I've got so far is there are rules included with the game, but they are not the full game rules. You need to go online and find those. And there are 2 sets of those online, depending on if you're playing it live with Let's Use the Person or with the board. And certain rules we were looking for or answers were in the opposite set of the rules to the ones we were supposed to be playing. I have an issue with momentum in particular, about how that works and how you're supposed to. There was no way to mark or keep track of your current momentum, which made that a little difficult. That made me wonder, were we supposed to be keeping track at all? And then I have the problem, of course, where I won very easily repeatedly, and I couldn't figure out if this is a problem with me, had I misread a game rule, but I went back to the rules and it seemed to be rather clear that this was how it happened. So maybe it was a fluke, I don't know, but the uncertainty in the rules made me uncertain if I had played this game to its fullest. Thing 4, how does this game look and feel? Well, Reach really is just a stunning presentation. The game itself, being very small, comes in a little canvas bag, inside of which is like a piece of paper, and you unfurl it with string and you open it up and it is the rules, and inside is everything you need to play the game. And I think it always feels like opening up a treat or a package. I like it very, very much. And the art style and graphic design here is definitely very fitting. It's all kind of very stark. It does feel like, you are absolutely lost in space. It's kind of minimal. It fits in very well with that. The component quality is outstanding. Yeah, you get some lovely cards, some very cool wooden meeples. The game board to play with is made of paper, however, because it has to fold to fit inside the package. But you don't mind that so much because everything else is so lovely. Not to forget that you get a cool little clip-on badge that has a string inside it to give to your buddy so that you guys can become tethered. I think that's such a nice touch. Overall, this game is aesthetically a treat. It's lovely. Thing 5, is this game actually any good? So when I first heard about the theme of Reach, I was really excited. There's something so cool about this being lost in space theme, and putting you kind of in a pressure cooker with your friend to try and overcome some horrible obstacles to have a good outcome. If anything, I was hoping for a Battlestar Galactica end of game moment where we're like, yeah, we beat it, we made it, yeah, except on a small 2-player scale. And this seemed great to me. Obviously, I have issues with the game so far. So the first being the rules. I'm not going to labour it any further than that. I'm just uncertain about how certain things work. But that shouldn't take away from what the game is offering here. I think it's a very clever design. I really, really like the theme. I love the way the cards work and how they move and things like that. But I just wasn't impressed with the game on the board itself. I felt like it was missing something. So I've talked about the version of it on paper. What about the live version where you were the meeples? And I almost didn't try this. I almost didn't do it because it kind of reminded me of if you've ever been to a convention where everyone's playing werewolf. You know, they're standing up and they're acting out a game together. And I was worried, well, not even worried, but I was like, why would I do this at 2 players? Why would I want to do that just in my own home? But we gave it a go. And this is where Reach gets really, really interesting. Because while you play on the board and you're moving your meeples in space and things like that, you moving yourself suddenly makes the game make way more sense. Like momentum made far more sense when I was the moving body, when I had to move a certain amount of degrees further away or towards the other person. It was really endearing that we started like touching fingers. You reach out and you touch your finger at the very start of the game and then you moved away from each other. It made it really real. And what was very cool was that as you used your cards, so I used my wrench like I always did, and I threw it away. I physically threw it away to move me further back. So that maybe if I flowed back later, I could have come and picked it up. This is also kind of the state where you get to use the little string to kind of reel each other in. And this is where the game really shines. I think this is a game that's supposed to be played with people and you acting it out. The whole thing suddenly became very, very different and much more fun. It was like playing some kind of childlike game or that you would play in the yard at school. You know, where, oh, I'm off in space and you have to try and bring me back, except with cards and mechanisms. And it was really, really fun. My problem with this is, yes, I still won the same way I did on the board, so maybe I'm just jinxed, but this was exciting, and I think this is the game that Reach was meant to be, because it felt so much lighter and more interesting and fun playing it in person. And I never thought I'd say that about a game before today, but I have. I'm very fond of Reach, I think, as a concept and as a design. I just feel like it's missing something, or I am missing something. Whatever it is, we'll find out. But that's my experience with the game from having opened it up out of the packet and looked online for answers. This is it. So yeah, maybe we'll get some clarifications in the future and I'll be able to tell you more about it. But for now, this was my go at Reach. Yeah, it was fun. So, do I think you should have Reach in your collection? I'm going to go against the grain a bit here and assume that I have made some kind of mistake. But I think this is a really fun, light game for 2 players. And if that's kind of something you're into and you really enjoy, I would definitely recommend looking it up. Or if you just want something that's very unique to play to act out, I don't think you'll find anything else quite like this. You've been watching Good Owl Games. Why not like or subscribe to the channel so you can get updates about my future videos? Or if you've got any comments or queries you'd like to make about Reach, why not shout them off in the comment box below? I'd really love to hear from you. So tune in again next time for some more short and hopefully informative board game reviews.